Okay, we're good to go, Mary.
All right, I would like to call to order the the Tuesday, September 8th meeting of the Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas,
Here.
Alder Groupie,
Here.
Alder Moore. Not yet. Alder Goforth,
Here.
Alder Wood,
Here.
Alder Coor,
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the August 17th meeting?
So move.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have one appearance. Ronesha Strozier would like to speak about the Valerie Lane parking restrictions. Ronesha, it's all yours. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Hello, my name is Ronisha.
Ronisha, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
So I have something written that I just want to read, and if you want to ask me questions, you can.
Okay.
But so I have some concerns about what is being planned for these roads. So in the winter, as we all know, snowfall is a big deal in the area. And I find that with these restrictions, it's going to be hard because Gunderson's funeral parking overflows onto the street on occasion. During a snowstorm, this will take away a lot of parking for residents who have to park on the street. I think the lack of parking is due to the rentals being over rented. This ties into there not being enough affordable rentals in the area. And then regarding owners, I think a discussion with owners needs to be had. In my building, there are 1-bedroom apartments and they provide parking for the people who live here, but I don't know if there is enough parking for the other rentals. So maybe a discussion about single family homes and whether they have a lot of people with a lot of cars a lot of car owners. Maybe that can help reduce the amount of cars parked here. And I was wondering if the city has contacted Gunderson. Maybe they can work out a way for overflow to go to the nearby parking lots. Right now, there's no incentive for Gunderson to help out and reduce the amount of overflow that they have for their funerals. And I've also noticed that many businesses park their trucks on the streets over here. So if we were to have those even odd days, that reduces the amount of parking spaces further. I find that during parades in the summer, people love to park in this area to get as close to Monona Drive as possible. And these restrictions don't address those parking issues in the summer. So what I'm trying to say is, well, I have a few more things. I would like to know what happens to cars that are towed as a result of these restrictions. Where will the money go that is earned from these towings? And I'm assuming that the city may ticket people who don't follow the rules. So I'd like to know where the money goes for that ticket. And I just in general want to say that Valerie Lane and Wallace are very tight as is. So to take away half the parking spots during a major snowstorm could leave a resident without a parking spot. And I'm hoping that maybe the city could find other ways to reduce parking, because if you reduce parking on Valerie and Wallace, that overflow is just going to end up further down Wallace or on Gordon. And thank you for your time.
Okay, well, thank you. And we'll try to address that item will be coming up first here on the agenda. So let's try to address Ronisha's questions, Dan, maybe when you're making your presentation. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
we do have one additional public appearance request.
Oh, okay.
From John Quayle, 4605 Monona Drive, is here in person in the council chambers, and we can have him go up to the microphone to speak.
Okay, that would be fine.
There you go.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Qualley from Snick Sportsman's Bar in Monona.
Welcome.
Yes. Well, when July 2nd, when we closed, because of the Dane County order, it just so happened that we were the only bar in Monona that's been closed for 2.5 months. As far as, because we didn't have enough sales in food. They let the other bars stay open to sell food. But if you're not aware of it, all the bars in Monona are open selling alcohol till bar time, when their grills close up at 9 and 10 o'clock. The people aren't going there to buy food, they're going to buy alcohol. We're very frustrated, and we have to open up or we're going to go out of business. We're applying today for just a patio license, a little beer garden license where they can sit on our smoke deck. We're going to put up a little tent, some tables, and well, we'll pretty much do anything it takes to get open again. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I know your wife had emailed me and asking about what we could do, and we've been told to have anybody with those kind of concerns contact Dane County Public Health. Did you? And I think I gave
We've contacted them over and over and they won't call us back.
They didn't respond at all, huh? Okay. I guess we could try following up with them and see why they're not calling back, because that's what they always tell us, is have them call this. They have a particular number, right, or email address for situations like this, but which I think I'm pretty sure I sent to your wife in my response. But we can certainly reach out to them and see what people are supposed to do if they're not going to respond. That's about all we can do that I'm aware of. Brian, do you know of anything else? But thank you for coming. I'm sorry about the issues you've been having.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other people there for appearances, Brian?
No, not in person, and I don't believe I've received any additional ones online.
Okay. There is no public hearing. There is no consent agenda. We'll move on to unfinished business. Item 1A, consideration of ordinance 3-20-728, establishing parking restrictions at various locations put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, and this is something that actually first came to the council in March, correct, Dan? And we
Correct.
delayed it so staff could contact residents to get their input. So if you'd like to explain
Okay.
what the situation is.
Thank you, Mayor. Right, this was introduced March 2nd for the first reading at City Council. It appeared at the Public Works Committee on March 4th. Both committee and council requested that staff send out a letter to the residents on the streets affected by the no parking. So staff did send out letters for the limits on Shore Acres Road, on Valerie Lane, Wallace, and Monona Ridge. And since that letter was sent out, I received three contacts regarding the letter. One from 4313 Shore Acres. That resident was not in favor of the even odd parking due to she would have a hard time seeing as she backed out of her driveway. That was the only resident on Shore Acres in that section. Resident at 200 Valerie Lane. This person actually wanted even odd parking all day year round. Those were his comments. And then a resident at 5308 Monona Ridge. She said that no parking on the cul-de-sac should have been implemented long ago. Those were the only three contacts that I had regarding the request to send out information. At the March 4th Public Works Committee meeting, the committee had discussed each of these locations, and we added item number 8 on St. Teresa Terrace, westbound at Wallace, established no parking here to corner 30 feet from the center of the radius of the corner to improve intersection sightlines. Every other location, the committee was okay with and recommended approval of items 1 through 8. Regarding the public appearance, as far as the revenue that's generated from tickets, I'm not aware where that goes. The finance director might be aware of that, or the city administrator, but I'm not aware where that goes. Regarding parking issues on major snowstorms, more than likely, if there's a major snowstorm, we're going to request an emergency declaration from the mayor to remove all automobiles from the streets. So it won't only be a problem in these areas, it'll be a problem citywide as far as eliminating parking from city streets. If there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mark, could you address the issue of where the fine money goes? And
Yeah, for a parking ticket would just be going into the general fund revenue accounts. That's what we kind of talked about today there in finance. There's a parking violation account. As far as the towing, city doesn't pay for anything. That's all done through the owners. So we don't get any money. They tow it, say Smith's Towing takes it. We don't pay a fee, and we don't collect a fee for that. That's all done with the towing company. They would collect a fee.
from the owner, correct?
Yep.
Dan, have you had any conversations with Gunderson?
No, I did not. I think if there's something to be worked out, I believe it should be the property owner of the apartments and Gunderson working something out for street parking. I mean, I totally understand where the residents are coming from, but I'm also looking at it from the angle of Public Works providing a service. That's where my request comes from.
Because it's difficult to plow on those particular streets.
Right. It gets very tight during snow plowing operations.
Alderwood and then Alder Groupie. First of all, do we have a motion to approve this? Actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, you do.
We do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
So I know in other areas of the city, we make parking in the city parking lots available. And there really isn't, can't think of any location near here other than, no public parking lot. So maybe it would make sense for the city to contact Gunderson or possibly Immaculate Heart for people to be able to park in their lots during snow emergency. And then my question, and I think Dan, you already addressed it. This is mainly being done for snow plowing purposes or other reasons?
Right. At least for Valerie and Wallace, the even odd request is for snow removal. Up on Shore Acres, that'd be even odd alternate side parking year round. And that's basically all of the services up in that area. Leaf collection, brush collection. Right now, the garbage trucks drive the wrong way down the road to collect the carts there. Plus, that stretch of Shore Acres is very narrow as well. But as far as Wallace and Valerie, yes, these two in particular for snow removal.
And Alder Groupie?
So I just wanted to say, I really appreciate, we did talk at length about whether or not a letter should be mailed and how to notify residents about this when we discussed it originally in the spring. But I think, we received some input from residents, and I think it just sort of reflects this longstanding issue that we have of really making sure that we're able to connect with tenants of apartment buildings in Monona. I understand that there may be this disconnect. We connect with the landlords, but they maybe aren't necessarily passing along the messages to residents. And, these are people who vote in Monona. These are people who, are served by the different services that we provide in Monona. And so I just think it's important that we try to be thoughtful about really making sure that we connect with them and reach them as individuals. And I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you, but we have discussions about this often in various committees of which I'm a part. And it seems to be a longstanding problem that I think could make a more concerted effort to resolve as far as our communication with apartment renters in the city. So,
Alder Goforth.
Yeah, I really appreciate that the letter was sent out. I think I talked to several people in the apartment buildings near Gunderson, and one said they did see that in March and the others did not. So I think it's just not getting to the residents. As someone who lives on Gordon, we're in a very unique situation in that we back up to this commercial corridor. And I know I've had challenges with business parking on our street as well. And when I've reached out to, prior to my term on the council, I was told, the businesses are not supposed to be parking on our street, but it's not enforced, so they do. I have trucks out in front of my house almost, not every night, but several nights a week. Those apartments down that Renisha was speaking of, kind of by Gunderson, they're 1-bedroom apartments with 1 parking stall. So many of those people are couples that live there and they have 2 cars. So they're already really struggling to find places to park. That apartment complex has been there for a very long time. So these are problems, we inherited. I think it's a very unique situation. I hope that we can look at a workaround that doesn't further restrict the parking down there, because I know the folks there really struggle already with parking and not having enough parking. And it really is one of the primary areas of affordable housing in Monona. So I feel like they'll be heavily impacted. So I hope we can reconsider on that stretch up on Valerie and on Wallace up to St. Teresa.
Does anyone else have anything? Alder Moore.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of Dan's comment that if there is some arrangements to be made with Gunderson or IHM, that it be negotiated between the property owner and kind of leave the city out, if you will. On the other hand, it occurs to me that at the same time that we have a snow emergency, they're going to have a snow emergency, and they're probably going to want their lot empty so that they can plow their lot. And so I guess I'm wondering if there might be some way that we could facilitate it, which is to say, if they agreed to some section of their parking lot being available for residents that are, since again, it would also be our snow emergency, that our trucks could quickly go through and clear, with one swipe of the plow, the section that's agreed to, so that both parties are accommodated. Because without that, I just can't see any kind of possible accommodation, because again, they'd be in the same bind that we're in, trying to clear snow.
Alder Thomas.
You're muted.
You're muted, Kathy.
I agree with that to some extent, but I also don't want to let the landlords off the hook. These are the people who are not notifying their tenants, according to some of my colleagues. And they have to have, I think they need to have a part in approaching these if we're going to ask for public parking for some of the residents there, that they need to be part of that some way. It's not always up to the city to do the landlord's business. So I don't know how you do this, Dan. I don't know how we figure it out, Brian, but I think that the landlords have to be involved in this because they need to take some responsibility for their tenants.
Don't we really have 2 issues here? We're talking one about where they go in a snow emergency, but then the other issue, which is every day, is only from November to March, only being allowed to park on one side of the street. And that's another separate topic. We're not talking about Gunderson or IHM for that, I don't think. Alder Coor, did you have something?
Well, just as a point of order, we're not voting on whether they can park there during a snow emergency. We're voting on whether parking is appropriate on even or odd sides of the street on Valerie and the other ones. You know, I think if we're gonna discuss, you know, what to do in a snow emergency, I think that's a larger city issue. I mean, they're not only places, you know, not just Valerie Lane where there's struggle parking when there's a snow emergency. If we want to, you know, make a plan for that, I think that's for another meeting.
Good point. Good point. Anyone else? Okay, well, if we don't have anyone else who has anything to say, then I guess we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay, nah. I'm opposed to this parking.
So is
restriction.
Alder Goforth the only opposition? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next item, Mark, have we heard from?
Yep, Jim's on. I think he's the owner's iPhone.
Oh, okay, thank you. First item under new business, and this is started for immediate action. Item 2A, consideration of resolution 20-9-2431, authorizing the issuance and sale of $4,725,000 in taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020C, put forth by the Finance Director. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to take the item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Mark, were you going to lead off with this?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a quick thing before Jim talks. So basically what we have here is we're refinancing two separate outstanding issues. One was related to TIF 5, or TIF 6, I'm sorry. Refinancing that debt so we can make lower payments and use it as a donor district coming up here. This one next, a couple of these coming up here fairly soon in these TIF budget amendments. So that's just to lower the payments so we can get more money over to TIF 5 quicker and pay that off quicker. And the other ones we're refinancing at band. It was basically a 4-year note. So we did Garden Circle, or not Garden, so we did Riverfront. It's kind of come and due here. We want to refinance that. In that, there's also a little bit of money for TIF 4 refinancing of 700,000. Once Jim will talk about here is the rates we got. These are taxable, so these are different non-taxables, and they're usually higher rates, up between 2 to 3%, over 3%. So I'll let Jim talk about the rates we got here. They're incredible for taxable notes.
Jim? You're on mute. Sorry.
Right, there you go. Can you hear me
There
now?
you go. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Oh,
I always say rates will never get lower, but I keep getting overly impressed by what's going on in terms of municipal rates. And as Mark had alluded to, this is not your typical general obligation, tax exempt, borrowing where you get an astounding rate. This is a taxable deal. So typically these interest rates are substantially higher than the tax exempt rates, but this is a 10-year refinancing, as Mark alluded to, of some outstanding obligations. And the true interest cost, which builds in all the costs associated with the financing, everything going out 10 years with a true interest cost of 163. I mean, I hope we never get any lower, and I'm very happy that the city was able to get these kind of rates, but it really is astounding, and the deal went very well, and I think we're all really pleased with the rates that came out.
It's amazing. Do either of you know how much we're saving in interest by this refinancing?
No, but so much of this is restructuring of some balloon payments. So
okay,
this is not a straight up, trying to save interest costs. It's just taking care of some balloon payments and structuring them, according to TID projected revenues. So
Okay.
it's not just a savings things, but you know, when you look at those rates, it really is pretty amazing.
Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, hearing none. Joan, you want to call the roll?
Alder Coor,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Next item 2B, also start for immediate action, consideration of resolution 20-9-2433, approving an employment agreement for the position of Fire Chief EMS Director put forth by the city administrator. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to
Move to take
suspend the
this out of
rules.
order.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay. Brian, I think our new our fire chief candidate is here with us, Jeremy McMullen.
Yes.
Brian, would you like to do the
Yeah,
honor?
thank you. I'd be happy to. So I included in your packet kind of a memo that kind of ran down the process that we went through to recruit for the fire chief EMS director position. After going through 29 different applications and a couple of interviews, the Police and Fire Commission, per their charge, has selected Jerry McMullen, goes by Jerry, and he's got a very extensive background in both the fire services and EMS as a certified paramedic. He comes to us from the city of Madison as the fire code officer, but also has a number of years' experience both as an assistant fire chief for Deer Valley Fire Department and also Deer Grove EMS as a paramedic lieutenant. So we're very excited to have Jerry on board. And Jerry is on the Zoom call this evening. So if you just want to introduce yourself for a moment, and then I'll take any questions the council may have. So Jerry, if you can unmute yourself.
Well, good evening. I popped into the finance and personnel meeting as well just to say hi to the folks there. I live in Deerfield. Been doing fire and EMS for just a hair under 20 years now. I've known Dan for almost all of that 20 years, which is not as much as his 40 plus years, but I figure I'll get there someday. Worked for the city fire department for the last 18 years. It was a difficult decision to do this for me, but I saw so many opportunities with Monona that I simply couldn't turn down the opportunity to apply. Really excited to step in and continue how good a department that Monona already has. Really looking forward to doing some good things with Dan's help for at least the next few months. But looking forward to getting started.
Great. We're looking forward to having you. And Dan, I'd just like to thank you for agreeing to stay on through the last several months and on into the next couple of months. We know you've put off your retirement and you've been a huge help. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions for Chief McMullen?
Just point of information, which what I'm asking you to do this evening is to approve the contract, and you're approving it contingent upon finalization of the background check. The only piece that we're waiting on is some information from the city of Madison, but other than that, the background check is all but complete. So it's just contingent upon that, but we expect that to be taken care of in the next couple of days.
Any questions from anybody?
When does he start?
October 1st.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Alder Coor.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank Dan. I know it's been tremendously busy, and with the pandemic, I think that's just added to your workload. And so from our perspective, the fire department leadership has been seamless. And so I just wanted to say thank you and welcome, Jeremy. We're pleased to have you.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor, or Alder Moore, did you have something?
I just want to echo that to Dan, and I would also want to thank the commission and their hard work in identifying a candidate enthusiastically. I know that was not an easy thing either, to say the least. So I'm looking forward, Jerry, looking forward to having you on board.
Great. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Alder Thomas.
Well, it goes without saying that we are very grateful, Dan. I want to know which was harder, the firefighting or doing the budget.
I will go run into a burning building any day for not to do a budget again.
Yeah, we thank you. We know that's not your normal shtick, and we're pleased with everything you've done, including the budget. So, you know how I feel about you. But
Well, thank you.
well, and welcome to Jerry.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of approving the contract, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Welcome to Monona. Motion passes.
Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you all.
Next item C, consideration of resolution 20-9-2434, amending the boundary of tax increment district number 5. This is put forth by the Community Development Authority. And Gary Becker is here to address this. Mark, were you going to speak as well, or Brian?
I figured Gary could.
Yeah, I'll have Gary speak in just a minute. This is the first of 3 different TID housekeeping requests that we're asking you to consider tonight, amendments to our various TID districts. The first one is to remove 7 kind of underperforming parcels from TID number 5, which is Garden Circle. That's to help kind of remove properties that are a negative impact on that district. Taking those out will allow the district to perform better and close at a sooner date. And the other 2 amendments are both allocation amendments, which basically allow you to set up TID district number 6 and TID district number 8 to be donor districts to 4, 5, and 9. And we, in approving that tonight, or actually the second reading at the next council meeting, you're not actually making the individual allocation assignments tonight. That'll be a later policy decision that we make at a later date. This is just setting up the mechanism legally to allow us to pursue that endeavor. That's kind of the brief overview. And Gary, if you had any additional comments on, I guess we'll start with the first one for number 5.
Yeah, and this is really the driver for all of these actions, in that TID number 5 is the Garden Circle TIF district. So back when this TID was created, there was a very blighted multifamily property called Garden Circle. I know many of you remember when that was there. It was causing a lot of problems for the city. And so the city created a TIF district, undertook a program of acquiring the property and demolishing the buildings, and then entertaining a proposal for the redevelopment of the site, which is now Monona Heritage. In the course of doing that, the city incurred quite a few expenses, as you can imagine. When the TIF district was set up, the council knew at that time it was going to be very tight, just because of the expenditures required and the revenue that was fairly limited because of the size of the area. And so we're at a point now, we're at about the halfway point of this TIF district. And we can make some adjustments now that we're at this point. One of the adjustments we can make is to take out property that has not redeveloped. So when the TIF was created, we added other property, including the bowling alley and the post office building, that we thought might redevelop because of the Monona Heritage property, but that hasn't happened. Since then, those properties have declined in value, which takes money away, basically takes value away from the TIF district and hinders the revenue generation of the district. So by subtracting the property, we can reset the base value to a lower number, and that increases the amount of increment we have and the revenue that the TIF can generate. So that's one thing we can do. Another thing we can do is the city has 2 very well performing TIF districts, number 6 and number 8. And the state allows municipalities to transfer revenue from one TIF district to another, as long as the generating TIF district has enough revenue to support its debt and other expenses. So we have that situation here. We also have in TID number 5, an eligible recipient for that revenue. So this action will allow the city to transfer revenue from TID number 6 and TID number 8 to help TID number 5 pay off its expenses. Now, the upside of doing that is that if you don't take action and TID number 5 ends its life with debt, then that debt has to be paid for by the general fund. If the TIF pays, if we do this revenue sharing with TID 6 and 8, the overlying taxing jurisdictions are involved as partners with the city in these TIF districts. So the revenue that would ordinarily go to those overlying taxing jurisdictions is being used to pay off the debt of the TIF district. By sharing the revenue, we're having the overlying taxing jurisdictions also share in the burden of paying off the expenses for TID number 5. So that's the benefit to the city of doing this revenue sharing. It's a way of getting the overlying taxing jurisdictions to participate in this. The downside of not doing it is that in the end, there may be some fairly significant costs that will need to be borne by the taxpayer. So by making these adjustments, we're hoping that, and the projections are looking very good, that we can end TID number 5 on a positive note rather than having a negative balance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? I guess Gary's explanation really covered the next 2 items as well. No one? Kathy?
I have a quick question. So if there should be development opportunities at the bowling alley, can we establish a new TIF district and put that in it?
Yes, you can. You have the capacity, the city has the capacity to create another TIF district. And so if a development proposal came along for that site, it would make sense. It would make more sense at this point, since we're at about the halfway point in the TIF district, that a new TIF district would be created anyway if there was a proposal. It's likely, any proposal for that site would likely require a fairly significant TIF investment, and being at the halfway point for TID number 5, it would probably make sense to create a new TIF district there anyway. So yes, we could create another TIF district if something came up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I'll go on and read the next 2 in case, so the audience hears it, and if anyone else has any questions about these 2. Item D, consideration of resolution 20-9-2435, approving an allocation amendment of tax increment district number 6. Does anybody have any questions? This is the one related to the clinics. Any questions about that, or did Gary cover? Okay, and then item E, consideration of resolution 20-9-2436, approving an allocation amendment of tax increment district number 8. That would be the Traystar Yahara Landing, I guess it is now. Any questions about that? Okay, well, thank you very much, Gary.
Okay, you're welcome. It's nice to see everybody.
You too.
Bye.
The next item is start for immediate approval, is approval of application for 2020 temporary extension of premises and temporary patio permit for Snick's Sportsman's Bar LLC, doing business as Snick's Sportsman's Bar, 4605 Monona Drive, put forth by the city clerk. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to take it out of order.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, is Joan going to address this, or Doug, were you going to? License review, or?
didn't come to license review. This is under the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
That we adopted. So Brian has already approved the patio permit. We're just approving the extension of premises to cover that patio.
Okay. Joan, did you have anything to add?
I do not, except that this would allow them to extend their seating and generate some business.
This would be consistent with the other two patio proposals we reviewed earlier this spring.
Does anyone have any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 I think Alder Core, did you have a question?
It's fine.
We can step back if you'd like to. Okay.
I had a comment. Could I, or I'm happy to make it afterwards, though, if I can.
Okay. I assume that's okay. Opposed? Motion passes. Alder Goforth.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, John, thanks for agreeing to close the driveway here on Gordon, because you're right by my house. And so we appreciate that. We got a lot of kids riding bikes and scooters right here. And then I also wanted to let you know another source you can complain to, and you might get a response. A better response is the Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection. So DATCP, you'll find that on the Google.
Although I don't know if they have much to say about county regulations.
It's one more place
shot,
they can
though, I guess.
complain and try to get a response.
Worth the shot, I guess.
Yeah, something.
Okay, next item. Consideration of ordinance 9-20-734, establishing a new parking restrictions on Toniwatha Trail and on Winipu Trail, put forth by the Public Works Committee. And this is something that I had established no parking on those two areas back, almost been in April, Dan, I think, because we've had so much bike and ped traffic
Right.
on
it was
both those
March.
streets. And had heard from people about how it's really tight when people are parking on both sides. And we have a lot of construction trucks parked there and boats and everything else. So now we've decided to make it a permanent change. So Dan, would you like to?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
This appeared in front of the Public Works Committee on September 2nd, and we have the recommended approval to City Council. It appears tonight on the agenda for the first reading. And I'm going to go through and read the first few whereas sections just to put it out there. South Toniwatha Trail at Winipu Trail are streets of varying width with driveways that are closely placed along with significant bicycle and ped traffic, which at times make it unsafe for all forms of traffic. To improve safety for all types of traffic in these areas, it is recommended that no parking this side be established for southbound lane of Winipu Trail from 5505 Winipu Trail to Toniwatha Trail, and for westbound and southbound Toniwatha Trail from Winipu Road to Winipu Trail. Also, to improve intersection sightlines at intersections along northbound Toniwatha, it is recommended that no parking here to corner be established at a distance of 30 feet from the center of each intersection radius at Winipu Trail, Baskerville, Wildhaven, Mesa Road, Boakes Lane, Arrowhead Drive, and Winipu Road. In your packet, you should have a map. Those no parking here to corners are signified by the blue pin on your map. And finally, the last whereas I'm going to read no parking recommendations on South Toniwatha Trail. All current no parking restrictions in both directions on South Toniwatha Trail from Winipu Road to Winipu Trail.
Any questions? Alder, go for it.
I was wondering, is it possible to have a consideration of a no parking at any time in front of 5802 Winipu Trail? Right there, there's often a boat trailers parked right there, and bikers come careening down that hill. There have been accidents. There was one a couple weeks ago, and it's really dangerous because it truncates that intersection. And so I was wondering if that is a one stall that could be considered for removal right there, just for bicycle safety.
Dan?
I'm assuming is that as you come down Tony Awatha Trail, approaching Winipu Trail directly across at the T?
Correct. Heading east down the hill.
Yep. I mean, that's I don't believe that's my call, but I know that'd be prime parking for boats, boat trailers there. I would put that up to city council.
So someone could add that to the resolution.
You could, yep. I would need to know the limits though, but we can figure that out for the second read.
Okay, great. Could I make that amendment now, or would I do that after?
I think you do it at the next meeting.
At the next meeting. Okay.
When we're actually voting on it, but you should talk to Dan to get the whatever information you need, she would need, Dan, in terms of the length of how long that extends. Is that the?
There's just one spot there right between driveways, and it's just that one space. Awesome, thank you.
Alderwood.
So you're talking about a space between those two driveways?
It is directly, yes, between those two driveways. There's one boat trailer, enough distance for a truck and a trailer, and it's directly at the end of Tony Awatha Trail. And so I've talked with all the neighbors right there. They're completely fine with not having that one space there, because the 5802 is basically a triage yard, triage lawn. They have a lot of people who crash in their yard, and they, kind of try to help bikers out in that spot. But if someone were to hit a truck and a trailer there, it would be possibly deadly.
Right. So it looks to me, just looking at it on Google Maps, like that space would be within the limits of the intersection, of that T intersection. And my recollection, I could be wrong, is it's illegal to park within the limits on that other, so they shouldn't be parking there, but if it's not marked, it's understandable why they would be.
It is not marked.
Dan?
Alderwood is right. Typically, you're not supposed to park on a T when it comes to an intersection. I don't know if our PD enforces that. I don't know if many PDs across Wisconsin enforce that. As far as marking paint and signage, I know in my experience, we typically don't mark intersections, and I have not seen them signed no parking. So it's a gray area, but I do agree with Alderwood on that. You technically are not supposed to park within a T on an intersection.
So would that be the solution, to just mark the pavement maybe, or put up a sign? Parking the pavement might be a little more obvious, or than to have, otherwise you'd have to have two signs probably.
We would have to dig up, I'm not sure if it's in a state statute where that is identified as a rule. If that is the case, we'd have to dig that up with PD so they know how to enforce that. But we'll figure that out in the next 2 weeks. And we'll come back to the next meeting with that information.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Anyone else have any? Bill?
I would just add, I also agree that Alderwood's correct. We can dig out the statute, but regardless of the law, if we're going to have the PD enforce that, I would encourage you to at very least mark it, if not sign it. I'll bet you half the parking tickets I get in municipal court, the people just say, there was no sign there. Had I known there was a sign, I wouldn't have parked there. I think a sign would just save a lot of angst and time for everybody involved.
Anyone else? Okay, next item, and it also started for immediate approval. Consideration of resolution 20-9-2432, award of bid for the Capital City Bike Trail Connection Project put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
I'll second.
Dan?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This also did appear on the agenda for tonight at the finance meeting. Before I get started in the resolution, one point that was brought up at finance was, is it legal for bicycles to be on sidewalks? Looked up state statutes 346.804, riding a bicycle on sidewalk when local authorities under 346.94 paragraph 1 permit bicycles on the sidewalk. So to answer that question, and I think Alder Wood did clarify, in this area, bicycles are allowed on sidewalks. So it does look like we are clear with state statutes in that regard as well. That said, the Public Works Committee also entertained this on their agenda at the September 2nd meeting and recommended approval of Dane County Contracting for the bid amount of $46,650. We opened on September 2nd. There were 2 bids, and the other bidder was Cattell. Regarding our budget, capital budget does have $75,000 set aside to complete this project. And with everything that we have going to the project, we should fall within our budget. There is a railroad cost component to this that we will be charged. It's $21,550. And the Dane County Contracting would work in conjunction with the railroad to get this finished probably by November 1st. Typically, the asphalt plants close around that time. That's our time frame for completion on this project. So if there's any other questions, be more than happy to answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Alder Moore.
Yeah, as somebody who had a little bit of asphalt laid down after the beginning of October in my driveway unsuccessfully, and because we seem to be going to unseasonably cool weather at the moment, if for some reason we're not able to wrap it by the time asphalt becomes a challenge, is there a plan B in terms of as we did with Bridge Road in terms of getting through the winter?
I think if it comes to that, I would recommend we do not put asphalt down for the winter. We would put up signage, and we would just go forward with it in spring when the asphalt plants open back up. Last year was a unique year, and I hope we don't have that again. You are typically safe putting asphalt down in October yet, but the earlier part of October, the better than the late part of October, for sure. So,
Alder Corr.
I'd just like to point out that, Dan's being very professional about this, but the reason that this is so delayed is because of the railroad. We've been, more than generous with giving them time to do what they needed to do. And they've basically pushed us aside because it's a small project. And so we haven't been able to get what we need done. And so now we're backed into a corner. And so it's just really frustrating. We've done what we needed to do, and the railroad is not working with us.
So are we still waiting for them to do something?
No,
Okay.
we have everything we need from them now.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, or Joan, I guess we need a roll call for this. Could you please call the roll?
Yes. Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Corr,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Goforth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, now we will convene in closed session under Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is related to San Damiano. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll move.
Is
I'll
there a
second.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
1 second, I gotta get all of the voters there. Alder Goforth,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Corr,
Aye.
Alder Thomas,
Aye.
Alder Groupie,
Aye.
Alder Moore.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are in closed session and